also was getting just hardballed with RPGs, rocket grenades, AK-47 fire, PKM fire, grenades.
You're hearing all of it.
Yeah.
You're seeing all of it.
You're seeing it, you're hearing it, and your mindset as a team, and again, that's why I say we had a great team there. Nobody panicked. Everybody was pretty salty. All of us in our 40s, all of us had multiple deployments. All of us, of course, had great training within our military branches. No, everybody just did their job. We all had responsibilities, and when I do the leadership talks, I tell the people this. It's kind of like a lessons learned. Train to your highest level. Push yourself in training. Get as much experience as you can, because when the panic sits in, or you can't have the opportunity to panic, your body will shut down and you will go to your highest level of training. And again, we were very blessed because the team had so much experience and training that everybody just went into what their job was to do, and nobody barked orders, nobody yelled at anybody. Everybody had a responsibility. Our GRS guys, the CIA personnel, yeah, they're panicking. They're running everywhere.
And you're seeing them.
Oh yeah.
Who called the shots and listen, we don't believe these guys. They're not telling us anything. Let's just go.
To me, there was essentially two stand downs. There was one by our CIA personnel, our CIA chief of base and our CIA chief of station in Tripoli. My gut feeling at that point in time, that early on, is that they just panicked. And when you panic, they went into what we call the black. They shut down. They didn't know what to do. And instead of making a decision, they made no decision.
I remember that.
And I've even testified to this. I don't think their initial don't go, stand down was a political. I think they just didn't know what the hell they were doing. But the egos kicked in, and people that didn't know what they were doing, they didn't say, hey, you know what? We don't know what the heck we're doing. You guys do. Go ahead out. They just kept holding on to the ball, thinking that either it would work itself out, or they just would maybe think of the right thing to do.
How much of it was, because you hear, oh, we can't get her up because she's sleeping and no one's getting. How much was that propaganda, or was that actually like we couldn't get a hold of anybody to make a decision?
I think it was more propaganda.
Okay.
Of course it was. I honestly believe that if the story, the true story would have come out, and we would have found out that, there wasn't a video, there was no hullabaloo about a protest, because the election was going on. Actually, Obama was not, him and Romney were pretty dang tight at that point in time. Part of his political platform was Al-Qaeda was on the run. Al-Qaeda was part of the attack that night in Libya. It was Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb and Ansar al-Sharia. I don't think he would have won.
If it would have been.
If the truth would have come out like that. I really do not think, and the truth didn't.
If 13 hours, if the movie would have came out sooner, it would have had a major impact on his re-election.
I think even if we would have just said something sooner, it would have. But nobody did.
Do you think 13 hours affected Hillary's campaign of her not winning?
I do. I think a lot of people started to see the things that they already knew. There is a deep state. There is people, and the politicians change history to fit their own narratives. And the media, especially mainstream media, change history to fit their own narratives so they can keep pushing whatever agenda they want. People started to see that, and I do believe that. And I don't think I'm going on a limb saying that, not because of what happened there and what us coming out and speaking out in Benghazi, but because it helped other people start to stand up and say, you know what, this isn't right. You know what, this isn't right. Now, we sacrificed our careers by telling the truth. We were essentially fired. We lost our security clearances, or they were suspended. As a contractor,
all six.
All of us. As a contractor, you get a security clearance suspended, you're not working anymore. That's essentially you're getting fired. We didn't just get our CIA security clearance suspended. We lost our State Department one, and I lost my DOD one as well, my Department of Defense one. So, of course, there were repercussions because of it, but you know what? We knew that was going to happen. Not crying about it. That's how the government works.
It's like a lawyer losing their license. You can't practice anymore.
You can't practice
You can't practice
so we can't deploy anymore. I do honestly believe, that it had a negative detriment on her political aspirations to become president, but it was well deserved. Hey, she made the decision, and a stand down that the military heard. Now that was a political stand down. That was about, it's hard to say on time, but said about midnight, because the military guys on the ground, whether it was 555th Fighter Wing in Alviano, whether it was the Fast Company Marines at Sigonella, the tankers that were in Sigonella, the 10th Special Forces group that had repositioned and had been moving towards us, the Commander's Extremity Force, those things were all shut down at midnight. And we did find out later that that was a State Department call, and who was in charge of the State Department? Well, Hillary Clinton. Then you got Patrick Kennedy and Charlene Lamb, which were the undersecretaries that people don't know much about. And those two are just as directly responsible as well. But then you also have to put a lot of the responsibility and the onus on the commander-in-chief. He's in charge of the military. Why didn't you step in and do something? Political aspirations took precedence over guys on the ground's lives.
My friend, I was telling you kind of a little bit about him when I was at Fort Campbell, and he's the guy that went to Vicenza and the whole story. And he went and became Special Forces. And one time he and I were talking. He was in somewhere in the Middle East, somewhere in Europe or the Middle East. And I said, who do you follow on the news? He says, Pat, I don't trust anybody. I said, tell me what you mean by, he says, Pat, no one is telling the truth. I said, honestly, but who is pretty close? And he gave me one name at that time. He says, you know, Bill is a little bit close at what he says. You know, we were talking.
You're talking about Bill O'Reilly.
He said Bill O'Reilly's a little bit close on some of the stuff that was happening in the war. But he says, I don't believe anybody else. I said, so what is your reaction when you watch? He says, you have no idea how frustrating it is to watch it to the point where we don't even want to watch it anymore. Is that kind of the feeling you had when you were watching?
Yeah, I do. The feeling with Bill, I was on Bill's show once. Bill's an asshole, dude. Hey, he didn't let us say one word. He was the first time I was on TV. He was my break into the media. But at that point in time, too, we couldn't really say too much because it was right at the beginning. Dang, what an arrogant ass. At that point in time, too, yeah, he can be. Hey, he could be.
3.8 million
exactly.
followers, so he was number one on the show.
And he did say things that I thought were fairly accurate. Not everything, because every media outlet has an agenda. They do. My opinion at that point in time, and this is the reason why we did his show, and it was Brett Baer. I thought he was fantastic, and just being so humble.
He's a stud. To me, he's a stud.
And his hair never messed. Dude, his hair. We were drinking after the show. His hair, he drank more than I did, and his hair never messed up. It was unbelievable.
He drinks. That's a good fun.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding?
Seriously, I'm impressed. I'm going to watch him now from a standpoint of Budweiser. This message is sponsored by Budweiser. I should completely have a different perspective.
But he's the nicest.
He just interviewed Comey, by the way, just recently. I don't know if you saw that. He interviewed Comey like a week and a half ago.
We don't need to talk about that.
I heard you were a diehard Comey fan. I saw a sticker you had on your folder that says, I love
Comey if he's 6 feet under. That's what it said. Am I going to offend people there too? There's no love for James Comey here either.
Let me ask you, is there no love for James Comey, or is there no love for the FBI, period?
The FBI guys on the ground do their job.
Okay.
They're hard. And I will say this from any aspect. The guys on the ground do their job, even us. I mean, I deployed for 10 years. There were a lot of crooked things going on in the government that honestly I just chose either not to pay attention to, or my job is here. Whatever's going on up there, if they want to be shady, then you let them be shady. My job's to watch my brother's back, and that's how the FBI is. The administrative, the head people up at top, especially at that point in time, terrible.
Same thing, controlling politics, same exact.
It is. It's megalomaniacs, brother.
How should we differentiate between the regular guy that works, got a family, got kids, is watching CNN, Fox, MSNBC? Where is a source for us to be able to tell the difference versus a guy like you that's on the field seeing it happen?
I said this when the Bergdahl case came out, Bo Bergdahl. What were his troops saying? What were the guys that were with him? What did they say about him? And they all came back negative. That's who you're listening to. What were the media saying? Don't worry about the media saying. What are the guys that are around him saying? I guess you have to pick and choose. I'm not going to tell you, listen to Brett Baer all the time, even though I like him. I thought he was great with us. Listen to Sean Hannity or listen to Anderson Cooper. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, just watch. See who they're interviewing. Now, that's talking about troops on the ground, I'm saying. Yeah, it's hard when you get into the politics, because now that you got both of them playing the cloak and dagger sort of thing, where you got a supporter for Trump, then you got a supporter for Bernie Sanders. If there's stuff that goes on where you have guys in a unit that have been working with them like the FBI, and they're saying one thing, I don't care what the media's saying. If they're all saying the same thing, those guys that worked or served with this gentleman, especially at the ground level, then you listen to that. But I don't watch the news either. I'll read a little bit every once in a while. You never know which way you're going to get slanted, whether it's left or right.
So it's fair to say you and Judy are now going on a campaign trail to help promote the book, Loyalty.
That was a perfect title for his book, A Higher Loyalty. Yeah, a higher loyalty to himself. That's basically Comey, a higher loyalty to himself and whoever else that asked us he was kissing before she didn't get elected. I don't. Was that too obvious?
No, okay, we're good. Go back and walk us through where you were at. So you're there, you're seeing it, you're saying on your watch it's at 30 minutes.
My watch.
They're calling in. You guys are saying let's just go. All the other Marine units, they're kind of hanging tight because they have to make
all these other military units. We didn't know they were getting spun up. We found out after the fact. Trey Gowdy's committee actually did a good fact finding or intel. Yeah, I wish he would have. His job wasn't to find fault, but he had enough information to find fault, but he didn't. He didn't pinpoint anything, even though his report was fantastic.
What he did with Hillary Clinton on that one trial, like the way he asked the questions?
Oh, I did. It was good. I think he could have taken it farther, where he could have said, "This is your fault," but he didn't. But
do you know why? Do you have an opinion why?
His job wasn't to do that. His job was to collect information.
Whose job was to take it further?
The FBI.
And he didn't do it.
Well, who was that?
Yeah, Comey.
There you go.
Got it.
But
so this all comes back to where you're at, and this is why for you, feeling towards Comey is from.
And at that point, it wasn't just something that came up where I decided right then and there, I've been letting this go, and I've just been paying attention and collecting information over the last, what now has been 6 years? You were talking about math. Hey, when the numbers add up, then that's what the answer is going to be. And if the numbers don't add up, well, then it's not. But the numbers have added up that this is what has taken place and that she was being protected. But yeah, get back to what was going on that night. We finally got a call from Alec Henderson saying, GRS, if you don't get here, we're all going to effing die. The movie's very accurate. That's exactly what he said. And we just took them ourselves and we left. We left without orders. The CIA, our base chief, still stands, oh, I told them they could go. They could go. Same with our team leader, but no. In fact, I remember Boone and I were in our car trying to get our team leader in the car saying, get in, we need to go, get your, and I'm,
The other four.
We had a GRS team leader, and he was a staffer.
Oh, that's right. Got it.
And
yes.
we had a chief of base.
Yep.
While we were trying to get out of there, he still wouldn't get in our car, and it was time to go, and we had to basically cuss his ass out to get him in the car. And I remember I said, get your fucking ass in the car. And then we shut out the gate, and because of that 30 minutes that we waited, Ansar Sharia and AQIM, Al-Qaeda, were able to basically get dug in their positions, and we had to actually fight the next 400 meters. When we got close, it was about 400 meters away, we had to stop, park, and then we had to fight our way on foot, which took us another about 30 minutes to go that 400 meters, which we split up in teams. Me and Boone took two Libyan guys. I don't know how I could trust them. I just thought I could. Grabbed them. And then Ty and Jack and John went down another route, and we split and fought our way on foot the rest of the way to get in there. And so by the time we actually got into the consulate from when the first call came to us, about an hour. And then we get in there, and people have seen fires. When all that's going on, and you see that, it is beautiful. I think I've been asked, that's the most horrible experience. No, it's not at all.
Define beautiful to you. What do you mean by beautiful?
Just the colors.
Oh, the colors.
When stuff like that happens, you have the option to either the adrenaline overtakes you, get this tunnel vision where everything just kind of comes in like this.
Do things slow down for you, or do things go faster for you?
Honestly, things go open. Think of a horse with little racing blood. Things go like this. But that was from experience over time. That was from different situations. That's from being overseas so much. If that would have happened earlier in my career, yeah, it may have stayed like this. But because at that point in time, and I was happy to be there. So I was like, God, thank you for putting me here. Whatever happens, happens, but I'm going to have fun and fight my ass off while I'm here and make sure my brothers go home. And there's actually a psychological or physiological response. It's called the flow, and your world just goes whoosh. People think, does it slow down? Does it speed up? No, it doesn't do any of that. It's just, you're just able to see everything, and the colors just pop. You're just able to see everything, and the colors just pop. They're bright. Sounds just incredible. I just get smiling thinking about it. So I remember seeing that fire and seeing even the diesel smoke in the dark. It's just still black as night. It's just, it's unbelievably awesome. You're either in your element or you're in the fetal position, and it doesn't mean any one of us are superheroes. It's just that's our element.
Were all of you like that? All six of you?
Yeah, I would honestly say all of us were like that because of the actions.
Wow.
Nobody took a pause. When we were moving, that was what was so impressive. It was like a symphony that night. Whenever a decision needed to be made, a guy made it, and there was no argument, and it was generally a decision that all of us agreed on like that. It wasn't need to be talked about. Like when Boone said, hey, I'm going this direction, I'm gonna go pull security, roger that. Rollins, I'm going in the building to check for the ambassador, cool, gotcha, I'll be over here, I'm pulling security this way. And it was no arguments, just was, but that says a lot for the special operations community, and that says a lot for the Marine Corps. Even though we're different branches of service, you get put through a lot of the similar training, and you're able to work well together. It was amazing. All the guys, there was not one guy there that locked up, which I would say like froze.
Freeze.
But again, like I said from the beginning, I think there was a reason that team was supposed to be there. I've been on teams where guys have frozen, and this team didn't. So for the next hour or so, we're in the compound's 9 acres. For those that don't want to get it in relative size, that's 3 football fields. That's the size of the U.S. consulate. There's 6 of us trying to clear this 9-acre compound. Nobody wears uniforms, so you don't know who friend or foe is. You have no clue. You only know once they shoot at you. And it's pretty intense. I mean, you're clearing. I was tired, and I remember. In fact, I'm sitting here with. I'll tell a story about Boone right now. He jumped over that back gate. I remember, and I said, when you go to this back gate, please open it so I don't have to jump over, because I'm carrying a little bit more weight than he is. I'm carrying a machine gun. I was tired. We've been jumping over walls. And
at this point, what time is it?
Maybe about 11 o'clock.
Got it.
He jumps over the back gate. And I remember all I seen was take off, running. And I'm like, good, open this gate. So I have to open it, because I had to climb it too. It was unsafe. So he's clearing it. And all I could think of was, get your back ass over here so I don't have to climb it. But I had to climb it anyway. So we get on that gate, and it's just funny things that you remember that happened. We get in there, I climb over the top, and I remember I pulled a blocking position. I laid, because I had my machine gun, I laid down the prone and got behind it. And Tig didn't think I was in the right spot. So he said, can you point your gun that way? I'm like, hey, motherfucker, I'm fucking tired. No, I'm not doing it. And then I moved over a little bit, and then I remember he started moving, and he says, Tony, we got to clear this, and we just started clearing the compound ourselves. And we had to clear 2 buildings that we still hadn't cleared to found survivors because we didn't know who was alive. All it is essentially moving through a compound, moving through, they had a vineyard there, you know, they had buildings that are burnt. I mean, there's fire everywhere. They had 2 vehicles that were on fire. It's chaos, but it's what I like enjoyable chaos. And the rest of us wanted to be there. And what you're doing is you're just, okay, what do we need to do?
You know, the loafers to get on, you know, that sort of thing. It isn't a management problem, it's a philosophic problem on whether or not the government has the right to use guns to redistribute wealth, and everybody in Washington, except for about 5 people, believe that. They endorse that principle. Sure, it varies about the tax code. I read just yesterday that it said that this tax code, which, you know, sounded like I could have voted for it because it lowered taxes, but there was one vote, they just discovered, oh, they're raising taxes in this area. So it's intervention, and I think the argument ought to be, does the government have the moral authority to intervene in your personal life, to tell you how you should run your personal life and your social life or your religious life? The answer should be no. You don't want to get. But we take that answer and apply it to economics and say, should the government, you know, sort it out so that there's more equality and that everybody has, you know, being taken care of, nobody fails, and this sort of thing. And the libertarian says, it doesn't work, it bankrupts the country, it's done by force. And the people who use it to an extreme point are the people in Venezuela, you know, and it doesn't work. And this is where we are today.
Okay.
We are totally bankrupt because there's been too much concession, because people want to be humane and say, you can't just throw people out in the street.
Is that a Republican principle or a Democratic principle?
What?
On handouts.
Oh, it's bipartisan. Everything is bipartisan.
You're saying handouts is bipartisan.
Is the welfare state reduced under the Republican Party? They've had a lot of chances, and a lot of big programs were passed by Republicans.
So your opinion. Okay, so how about we go one by one? Marijuana. What's your beliefs on marijuana? Should it be legal? Should it not be legal?
Well, it should be decriminalized. There should be no criminal penalties for using marijuana, and that's clear cut. You have a right to do with your life and your body that you want. And up until 1938, it was legal. So it's just this
marijuana up until 1938 was legal.
Yeah, that is when they put a tax on it, and they knew they weren't allowed to regulate it, because when they wanted to regulate booze, beer, and alcohol, they had to amend the Constitution.
I mean, they used to put it in your food when they would give to military guys. You know, joint used to be in there. That guys used to smoke back in the days. And you're a 1935 guy, so you're saying marijuana should be legal and decriminalized.
Absolutely. I mean, the question you're sort of asking is, who should protect you from yourself? And nobody in a libertarian society. I cannot protect you from yourself, because your habits may be the problem. You might eat poorly, you might take stuff, and you might smoke and do all these things. And governments cannot do that. Once you do that, you give up your liberties. So you always aim for the purity of a libertarian society where you're responsible. But in this response, and the young people, you wondered why the young people came my way, and they cheered me on this. I say, you know, in a libertarian society, you can do what you want. You can smoke and drink and all this, and you can earn as much money as you want, and we're not going to take the money from you. No taxation. But if you screw up, you can't go to the government. And I would get a loud applause on that. It was responsibility, freedom, and that you are rewarded.
Why do you think some people are against the concept of what you're talking about?
Everybody has that instinct. I think we're all born libertarians. And then when we're 2 or a terrible 2 and we start getting it beaten out, then we're sent to a government school, which is considered a prison by a lot of people, and it beats it out of us. It took me a lot of years to beat the bad ideas out of my mind from grade school and high school and college. They were all teaching me the wrong thing. And so my challenge was, how do I get rid of those bad ideas? And that took me about, and it gradual, 15 or 20 years. But I think that the momentum is on our side in spite of the ups and downs, you know, that we are so much better.
Have you ever smoked marijuana yourself?
No.
Are you open to the idea?
Oh, no, I don't. It doesn't attract me a bit.
So I was with Kevin Hart, the comedian. He's a big comedian. He's got 150 million followers. Kevin Hart said, if you're ever going to see, he was never a fan of marijuana.
He said, I told my kids, the only person you have the permission to smoke marijuana with is Snoop Dogg. Do you know who Snoop Dogg is?
Yeah, sort of.
The rapper? By the way,
yeah.
I don't know if you know or not, one time he posted a picture of yours in his Facebook page, and he said, smoke weed every day with your picture while you were running for office.
Smoke weed every day.
So if we could arrange it.
And I don't care. He's responsible for his own life.
To do whatever he wants. So why don't you want to smoke marijuana?
Well, why do I not want to eat badly and gain a lot of weight?
Because you don't think marijuana is good for you.
Yeah, I have no desire for it, and I don't know. I think that it is not much positive, except I'm not the decider. If there's medicinal benefits from it, what they did was they just legalized, and they found out, all these kids that have these severe epileptic fits are being helped.
So what if a doctor says, hey, Ron, it's not a bad idea for you to start smoking weed? Would you do it?
I'm not interested in it, but I know some people.
I mean, if you're going to be for it, wouldn't it make sense for you to try it? I'm like the 16-year-old kid bad influence in your life.
The fact is that I was a better spokesman for marijuana than anybody you could find. I was an MD. I didn't use drugs. Didn't want my kids using drugs, and that's so different. Let's say I was hippish type and didn't care about anything else other than smoking. That turns a lot of people off. Oh yeah, he just wants to do this. They knew that I was being very upfront. I want to do this for a freedom reason. I want to legalize freedom. I don't want to legalize marijuana. I want to legalize freedom of choice to run your own life and take your own risk.
Anything. And then you know how Richard Branson came out and he said, I think heroin should be legal. I think all these other things should be legal. Is your argument because marijuana is God-made and heroin and all the other stuff is man-made? Is that kind of the argument you're making?
In one of the debates, they asked me that question in the debate because I took the position, legalize heroin. So I said, and my answer was, it's the funniest thing in the world, and this was a religious conservative crowd. I said, okay, we're going to legalize heroin tomorrow. I want to see the hands go up on how many people are going to rush out and use heroin. Nobody's going to, that's not the reason they do it. And making it illegal just makes it goes into the hands of the drug dealer. So it's all the negative things come from the regulation of it. So I let people take all their own risks.
So you're not for heroin becoming legal? Heroin, no. Marijuana, yes.
I said no. My argument.
Heroin also.
Yeah, because
cocaine legal.
That's why I said to the crowd, "Let's make it legal." How many of you would use it? And they said, "No, nobody was going to use it." They answered my question. Legalizing it isn't going to encourage use.
I can imagine a new country. Okay, Ron Paul has officially been granted 1 million acres of land in a small part of Australia. It's going to be called Ron Paul land.
Okay.
In our country,
you're making fun, and that's not nice.
No, but I'm not making fun. This is what I'm saying. Because what I'm trying to say is, you say that, what market does it attract? For instance, I'm from Iran. I was born and raised in Iran. What attracted to America for us to have 41 million immigrants here is the fact that they offer capitalism. So I'm attracted to it. So I come to a place like this. But that's okay.
Okay, I have an example of that situation, which you think would be, you're implying, well, this is a little weird, is we've had that at one time. Where did the founders come down hard on cocaine or anything? It just existed. The drug war, actually, the real enthusiasm for the drug war and filling up our prisons came from the Republicans in the early 1970s under Nixon. He started this obsessive war on drugs. So yes, you have the intervention with the Republicans on social habits, and you have the Democrats on economic habits, and they both endorse each other. It's sort of like, you endorse my deal, and I'll endorse your deal. It's because that's the way it is on military. There'll be some Democrats, not too many anymore, they'll say, we spend too much money overseas killing people. But we'll let you do that, you Republicans, if you give us more money for food stamps. So, okay, that's a fair deal. And what has happened to our debt? It's skyrocketed.
Okay, so you're not coming from a place of what's better, what's worse. Your argument is, who cares? If it's going to be legal, if people are not going to go out there and use it anyways.
I care about liberty.
You care about liberty. That's fine. I respect that.
And you can't hurt anybody.
By the way, just an opinion. You're a doctor. What's worse, marijuana, alcohol, or cigarettes? Based on your opinion as a doctor, which of those three is worse for you?
Well, it all depends. I know that I'll give you the answer, and I know what you're talking about.
I'm asking very sincerely.
But it all depends on how much you use. If a guy smokes a cigar twice a week, that's one thing. But of those three, I think cigarettes are more deadly.
More deadly. And what's second for you? Would it be alcohol or marijuana?
Oh, obviously alcohol.
So you're putting cigarettes worse, then it's alcohol, then marijuana.
Yeah, and somebody might find a statistic that shows that alcohol and cigarettes, they're combined so often and give people heart problems. And
so what's worse?
I think overall, long-term society and freedom of choice would have made a much better use and a controlled use of marijuana. But the market works pretty well with alcohol. Prohibition was horrible because they had alcohol and it was very concentrated, very strong, and also very contaminated. So when it became legal, it was much safer. And matter of fact, it was when you had prohibition, you had much more potent alcohol. When you made it legal, you had lower percentage of alcohol and you could pick a weaker beer and this sort of thing. Markets can handle this. People aren't idiots. This idea that we have to control people is based, and the members of Congress told me that, it's based on assuming the people are stupid. And they've told me that. And they said, Ron, I agree with you. We shouldn't have to do this and all. But the people are too stupid. They're not going to do that. I assume that if you're going to be stupid, maybe you'll hurt yourself. But people aren't that stupid, like that crowd showed me. Nobody said, oh, I would use heroin. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, it all depends also what market it was you spoke to, how old they were, where process, where are they at with, risk and accessibility.